Good night, viewers, and welcome to this another program of Advancing the Cause. This program comes to you every Wednesday night from 18:30 hours to 20 hours. The official host of this program is the Honorable Coretta McDonald, AA, MP, and President of the Guyana Teachers Union. Because of pressing duties and of duties of national interest, Comrade McDonald is unable to host this program tonight, and therefore I am hosting the program for her. My name is Dennis Jaikran, and I would be hosting the program tonight. Viewers, I want to apologize for that break in transmission. It is not our fault. From this end, we are clear, but we were at a point in which I was talking about the topic for tonight. And so the topic for tonight is making the link. And so before the order of the program is outlined, may I advise that there would have been a number of requests from organizations, agencies, regions, ministries, as it relates to issues that we should discuss on this program. We want to thank those persons up front before we get into the program for affording this program the opportunity not only to have the topic, so to speak, but the content therein that would follow. So the order of the presentation would be general issues. Normally that would come at the last in the presentation, but this program is advised that it should come up earlier. Then we'd have matters related to education and then health matters. So let us go right now into the matters as it relates to general issues. This program would have been very much advised and reliably advised of the situation as it relates to a very important project that is stalled for the past 5 months. And that project causing hundreds of millions of dollars is the Saudi market. And so the information as received by this program would indicate that the project would have been awarded to a particular contractor, and there is an agreed internal arrangement to satisfy the needs of others to have that market subcontracted to a person in region 2 that has no knowledge, intelligence, training, or ability to perform in any way or in any form as it relates to construction. And that person, this program is told, would have stalled this program, rather the project, because of technical know-how, so to speak, and not having the capital sums of money to commence work. And so as it is a very important project for the vendors who are complaining bitterly of the state in which they have to ply their trade, mostly on Sundays and Wednesdays, on the roadway, the main access way, the main public road, so to speak. It is very inconvenient for them. It is not safe. And persons have been complaining that they wish to go back into that market because of their safety and security. But to come back to the point that this project should be investigated as to who this contract was awarded to and who it was, this program is using the word, who it was given to as some form of compensation, as some form of reward, as some form of allowing persons to make money without them having the technical know-how, no training, and no requirement as it relates to NIS compliance, GRA compliance, business registration. And because the person did not bid for the project, but is now doing and cannot do the project because the project is stalled, there has been no what you call organizational structure produced. There is no list of pieces of equipment and machinery that is owned or to be rented by this person. And we are not using, early on this program would have said subcontracted, but it was not subcontracted. We want to make that correction. It was handed and given for compensation. And so the vendors would have been in contact with this program and would have asked that this program express on their behalf their dissatisfaction of the millions of dollars that would have been allocated, and that market is still to come off the ground. This program is calling on the relevant authorities to ensure that an investigation is held, and those who are given to, or this project would have been given to, should be held accountable. It is the people's money. It is taxpayers' money. And the person who this project was handed to, let her know it is not money plucked out of somewhere. It is taxpayers' money. And don't behave like an eagle and fly high and don't conclude that project, because this program again is calling for an investigation. The second project that needs to be investigated, and this program is going to make a number of points, is the construction of the Cottonfield Secondary School. And there are allegations that a contract as awarded to was an arrangement. Allegations that this is not the real contractor, but this person that the contract would have been awarded to would have been an arrangement for some other person. And that is why no decision could have been made when the parents of both the Cottonfield Secondary School and Anna Regina Secondary School made objections as to the destruction of the Anna Regina Secondary School recreational park or ground. It did not happen because nobody paid heed to it. And why no investigation, or why there was no change as it relates to where the school or the present spot, so to speak, but more encroaching on the ground. And mind you, that the Anna Regina Secondary School, which is east, rather west of the now constructed Cottonfield Secondary School, there is a dormitory facility. But to come back to the point that a number of things are going wrong on this project. The first thing, that this project is 5 months behind time. That is point number 1. The second point that needs to be emphasized is that there is poor quality work at all levels. And it was reported to this program that the materials that were used for the foundation were not the quality as described in the bill of quantities. And so that structure is going to be very weak. But it is taxpayers' money. It is the people's money. And so people must know these things. So poor quality work. So if that foundation is poor, then everything to follow would be poor. And let us make the link now. That same contractor would have been used to construct what is called the Exceptional Learning Center. And the parents who have children going there would have complained bitterly of poor work, leaking roofs, bad floor, windows now falling apart, doors falling apart, no running water, the toilet facilities, the lighting facilities, and the head of that center was so advised by the regional education officer, not in the term that this program would want to see, but to advise to shut up and don't bring these situations, or don't allow the parents to discuss these things while there's a gathering of parents at special meetings. But that is a link to another project that this contractor would have been involved in. So we spoke about pool investigations and conform investigations, using that term, so to speak, would have indicated that there are 32 persons that are employed and that they cannot speak English. Let this program repeat itself. Investigation revealed after the allegations would have been made that there are 32 persons that are employed that cannot speak English. Let us make the link. So those 32 persons, they do not have TIN certificates or numbers, what is referred to as TIN numbers. And so in the absence of them not having TIN numbers, there is this clear indication that they are not paying taxes to the GRA. But I'm going to come to GRA and NIS and Environmental Protection Agency. All these persons who are employed there and are receiving big fat salaries from taxpayers and are wasting time and are compromised in all of their dealing, but are very targeted as it relates to their performance. So these 32 persons, because they do not have TIN numbers or certificates, they do not pay taxes. So this program is again calling out the Commissioner General of the Guyana Revenue Authority. There is a local office in Region 2. Let them start doing their work, because that is a compromised office as it relates to contracts and contractors. They do not have NIS cards, and therefore they are not paying their NIS, neither the employer. So there is no employee paid NIS, and there is no employer paid NIS. And it is known to the inspectors who are employed by the state at the NIS local office in Anna Regina of all these misdeeds and defaults, but they are not addressing them because the allegations are that they are in the pockets of contractors. Notice we are not saying the contractor, contractors. But let us step aside and to say that if you are to go to NIS at any time, as an individual, as a pensioner, to transact any business, and you don't have to know them. It is by virtue of their specialized treatment from the staff of the NIS there that you know they are contractors. So this program is bringing it again to public notice that when you go to NIS, those people who paid their full dues while they were employed, either in the public sector or in the private sector, are now eligible so to speak, for their NIS based on their qualifications of contributions, are treated in a way shabby, so to speak, but those contractors are given priority by the staff. But we are coming back to the 32 there as employed at this one project, the Cottonfield Secondary School, and they are not paying NIS. These 232 persons, despite the fact they cannot speak English, and we should qualify that to the extent of communicating effectively to persons that can speak English, they were able, based on allegations, to say that they work for long hours and that the salaries they receive in comparison with those who can speak English. So we are not making any comparison about nationality. They work long hours and not with the required salary, scale, or rate. But who do they complain to? It is difficult in Guyana to complain to the Ministry of Labor because that also, the Occupational Health and Safety section, the section that is responsible for allowing the labor laws to be maintained, they are also compromised and they overlook these things based on who you are. And that is why we have these serious breakdown in industrial accidents. You know, the last minister, or the previous, let us don't say last would indicate death. The previous minister of labor was a dead weight, and he was only reacting to situation. Well, you know, the new ministers took their oath and positions maybe a month or so ago, or even longer. And this new minister is worse than the one before because nothing. There's a laissez-faire situation, a layback, a throwback of the employees that receive taxpayers' money. Again, we're making the link, using this project and expanding across the country as to what is happening so that Guyanese, your eyes to be opened, look and see and complain. You might not be heard, but you would have told your story. And your story is important because there are ears down there that are listening. And even within, there might be ears that are listening. And in their own quiet moments, they are going to consider what is happening. So there's no adherence to the occupational health and safety regulations as it relates to that and many other projects. And this project, before we come off of that, this project would have made this program rather, excuse me, would have made mention of this illegal and unauthorized mechanical workshop operating in a residential area, causing noise, dust, and chemical pollution. And a number of agencies are quite aware of what is happening. And so when the people at Middlesex, Fairfield, and Vilvoorden protested the actions of the dust that would have been emanating from that rice mill at Fairfield in disgust, and they still continue to experience that at higher rates as this unauthorized and illegal mechanical workshop continues to advance its work with more noise, dust, and chemical pollution. And the executive director of EPA they are quiet. But you know, this program the last time said that there would have been someone in that environmental protection agency, the document is somewhere, that spoke of a fine of $750,000. But let this program make it clear and straight. Once such fine is there, no employee of the Environmental Protection Agency would take this matter to court for prosecution. And I'm not a lawyer. At least, let me repeat, I'm not a lawyer, not as yet. Not as yet. Take it for prosecution. They are not going to do that, because if you go and you are going to be found guilty, you have to pay $750,000. Viewers, hear this part. So before you pay $750,000, you pay me from EPA $400,000 or $500,000, and you relax and continue your work. That is discrimination. That is compromise. That is betrayal of receiving taxpayers' money to perform legal duties. And it cuts across agencies and ministries. GPL would do the same thing. What you call the special section that they call something that I don't recall the section, but when I recall the section, I'll come back to that point of GPL. Also compromised. And GPL very well knows that a number of persons have illegal connections at these workshops and these business places, but they compromise, and the other persons around are made to suffer. So that is the second point, but we are making linkages. Let us now deal with some aspects of the Auditor General report. Auditor General's report. This program would like to just say from the very beginning that based on what this program would have seen in that report did not speak to major things that are affecting the Guyanese population. The report did not challenge the deficiencies as it relates to spending of billions of dollars on projects. And so it can be considered a failed report or a compromised report. And this program is always as is, bringing the truth and the facts to you, the viewers. So let us deal with the report for Region 2. The first thing, the report for Region 2 failed to say that at the time of inspection, based on the report, that there would have been 137 unpaid checks that were cut in the year before for projects. They have failed to say that. But this information came from Sub-Treasury. Why is it was compromised? Why is it? And so there are a number of things that would be pointed out. One, advances. There are 223 outstanding advances to a total value of $17.098 million. For emphasis, let this program repeat itself that there are this is Region 2, 223 outstanding advances totaling $17.098 million relating to the accounts, the Westbury Fund, the Cayman Sankar Fund, State House, Esgibonite, sale of tender, rental of Unifloat, toll fees to a truck, water users, rental of state, charity market center, MASH. 223 outstanding advances, $17.098 million. This is an indictment. Taxpayers' money being misused. And there are further allegations that some of these advances are there since 1995. And there are further allegations that some of these advances that were made for persons to construct homes and buildings. These are all allegations. And then you talk about somebody writing the finance secretary seeking approval for closure of some of the accounts. Whether you close these accounts or not, there are outstanding advances, 223 advances at $17.098 million. Indictment. And that has to be properly regularized. If not, you are wasting taxpayers' money. Now let this program make it straight and plain. I think the Redo is sailing as it relates to Westbury Fund. I think they had teachers in these concerned schools, which is the Cottonfield Secondary, the Anna Regina Multilateral Secondary School, and the 8th of May Secondary. This special fund was set up by the late Dr. Ptolemy Reed while he was Prime Minister. And so the land at Westbury would have been, which was land owned by him, handed to these schools as a major project. And so funds generated from these lands there has handed over to these three schools through the Department of Education and the regional administration. The interest from the fund would have been used to sustain and maintain certain projects and programs. At the Anna Regina Secondary School, the Cottonfield Secondary, and the 8th of May. I asked, well, this program rather, asked the REDO about this same project or this fund. And the REDO has no clue. And you are managing the Department of Education. A waste of time, REDO. But I'm going to come to deal with the of Education as it relates to the regional awards ceremony. And so that is for what the Auditor General failed also in the report to make mention, failed to make mention of the defects of major projects, capital projects, incomplete capital projects, advance payments to incomplete projects. And by the way, let us come back to the Saudi market. There are allegations that 2 advances were paid, a mobilization advance or fee, and a forced payment for no work to be done. These are all allegations. Auditor General, you have work to do. Don't blame the number of staff members you have. People should go and see who are the persons employed here. So that is in relation to the Auditor General report as it relates to Region 2. Now, let us, because we have been hearing that pastors are praying. Pastors are praying at the opening of these men of mission buildings and homes. Now, this particular pastor that I'm talking, this program is making reference, is the pastor who allegations are made on election night had what appeared to be in his waist in Dartmouth a weapon of certain sort, whatever allegations. A pastor, you know, not a candidate on the list, was going to these polling stations, allegations, but this program is taking note of that. And it is the same pastor who this program made mention of early on about getting contracts at the Queenstown Burial Ground and the NDIA equipment would have been, pieces of equipment would have been used to do the work, and the pastor collected the full sum without any investment. This is cheating. This is robbery on the arms of taxpayers' money. A pastor. And then the same pastor is praying at the opening, allegations, opening of these men of mission homes or houses. Let us quickly turn to item or project code 1702300, Men of Mission Program, and to advise that it comes under the office of the President and that the sum allocated is $700 million for provision for men on mission projects and programs. So, viewers, let this program so advise the pastors that go and pray at the opening to know that it is taxpayers' money, it is the people's money, and when they pray, they should pray for all the taxpayers and the people of this country instead of selectively. You cannot be very selective in who you pray for at the opening of these houses, or these homes rather. But you see, they are ignorant of the fact. But this program is bringing it to say that there would have been $700 million allocated under Project Code 1702300, titled Men on Mission Program, $700 million. So this program would wish to bring that to the attention of the viewers. Next point. Auditor General's report, Region 3. Very sad and damning report. And a few points to highlight. Checks on hand. At the time of, based on the report, there were 137, at September 2025, 2 months ago, there were 187 checks on hand, totaling $179.435 million in retention to transactions for the year 2024. An indictment on the people's money, taxpayers' money. Let us, this program, give you once more. In September 2025, it was discovered that there would have been 187 unpaid checks totaling $179.435 million in the sub-treasury still to be paid. This is an indictment. So the sub-treasury in Region 3 is now a bank for retention. Auditor General, it is good that you bring it out. But on the other hand, you should have recommended an investigation and police involvement. Check orders. Next point. As reported in the Auditor General report. However, an examination of the check order register revealed that there were 13 check orders totaling $10.37 million in respect to transaction in 2024. What a sad situation in Region 3, but this program would have made mention of that the head of administration in Region 3, boastful, bragful as ever, empty as ever, and is high school dropout. What do you expect? What perform? This has never happened. The host of this program was once a regional executive officer in Region 3. And nothing of this sort could have been reported in the Auditor General's report because we were all cleared at every single point and things happen. So let us emphasize again, check orders to the value of $10.37 million in transaction for 2024 that remain outstanding at the time of reporting in September 2025. This is an indictment. This is an indictment. Unpresented vouchers. Can you imagine to this day and age, you have unpresented voucher? This is the Auditor General's report. And the public must know. We were at the point of dealing with unpaid vouchers. So out of September, again, there would have been payment totaling $127.83 million of unpaid, unpresented vouchers. So that value. Unpaid. Can you imagine that? And there is also an unpaid unpresented vouchers to the value of $17.804 million for 2023. They did business, but there's no voucher to the value. This is 2023. $17.84 million. In 2020, presented, and imagine you are doing business and you have not presented vouchers totaling $127.838 million. This is an indictment and there is need for the investigation. Auditor General, you cannot sit down idly by and just put it in the report. These are all indictment and infractions. And so the people of this, or the viewers rather, if you have friends in Region 3, let them know what is happening in Region 3. As this program would have indicated, we are going to take region by region. We barely touch Region 2, but there are a number of infractions there that we need to touch as it relates to a number of things there. Now, they don't have an official list of assets there. That is an indictment. Serious indictment there. Serious indictment. Serious indictment. List of assets there. And so one would have said that examination of the official list of assets owned and controlled by the regional administration and physical verification of assets revealed that one motorcycle listed unserviceable of the official list submitted for the auditor was allegedly stolen. Unserviceable but stolen. The police, you can arrest the matter how you want, but the public is now aware of the situation. Drainage and irrigation. There's a special fund there. And so from that fund there, a number of things would have been happening in that region that the Auditor General saw it fit to make mention of. And it says here, however, it was observed that transactions such as the payment of salaries, clearing of advances, and salary fund were recorded in the register. These are all infractions. That fund, that DNI fund in Region 3 was not met for those kinds of things. That fund was not set up. And this here is not only an infraction, but it is illegal and unauthorized spending that should be investigated. And so people are having field days using these special accounts. And in passing, all the Auditor General is making passing words on them. No recommendation. Capital purchase. This is what the report is saying here. Amongst amounts totaling $234 million was budgeted for the purchase of furniture and equipment for admin education staff, health services, and purchase of water ambulances. At as at 31st December 2024, amounts totaling 233.929 million were expended. However, audit examination of payment voucher, other supporting documentation, and physical verification of asset revealed the following indictments again. One, a total of 124 items valued at $24.332 million was still to be delivered to the regional administration at the time of reporting. These are all transactions that closed in 2024 December, and payments were made. But these items to the value of 124 items to the value of $24.332 million still to be delivered to the regional administration. In September 2025, 500 items totaling $25.452 million could not have been located or verified. If this is not a matter for the police, then Auditor General, you are wasting your time as it relates to reporting on these matters, and there's no heed to what is happening there. Excuse me. Award ceremony, regional award ceremony, Region 2. A number of things to note on this regional award ceremony. The first thing, let this program explain to the Regional Education Officer, Region 2, and for the viewers to understand what a awards ceremony is all. A regional awards ceremony is so organized and made possible to award our head teachers, our teachers, our high-performing learners at national grade 6, maybe if they have grade 2 and 4 assessment, national grade 6, well, let us say 2, 4, and 6 at the primary level. And at the secondary level, at one time, you had a national grade 9. I don't think this regional education officer knows about grade 9 and how these papers were printed, because the host of this program was once the officer in charge of the secondary school reform project, and there were only 9 schools across this country. So this host can give them information, you know. And this host was once a regional education officer. So the host is quite aware of the regional awards ceremony. And so every time we make important points, and all our points are important, There's some element of disruption. We can stand, we can abide by that. We can abide by that. Because the truth always, we say, the truth always hurts. But we continue to talk the truth. So this program was saying that the host of this tonight's program was once an officer of the secondary school reform project, only officer in this region, and was once a regional education officer. So nothing is strange about award ceremony because it was this regional education officer that set the tone and a high standard that would have fallen after this regional education officer would have departed. The head teachers who work under this regional education officer, if they are truthful in what they want to say, can say that to you. We are not here for that. We are here to say what are a pathway worker. Hear what this pathway work. This award ceremony is not for pathway worker. It is for head teachers, teachers, and the learners, as explained early on. So you are doing remarkable contribution. This is special award to the pathway worker. Remarkable contribution in fostering a love and for reading and literacy and for lending support to the literacy program. Now, there are a number of things, but we do not want. Let the Redo show this country, the people, the viewers, and the parents what would have been the criteria used to make such an award. This is irrelevant, Redo, as you are irrelevant in very many ways. And so, let us look at what is reported here. Guyana Chronicle, Monday, November 3rd, 2025, page 17. Region 2 pushes education excellence through infrastructure, training, and access. 4 new schools, upgraded facilities, and overall, and over 700 teachers advancing qualification. Region 2 education system, and the program is continues to make significant strides in ensuring equitable, modern, quality learning opportunities. This is far from the truth and reality. Redo, you should not make statements that you cannot substantiate because you do not know what is equity. And that is totally out of place there. Newly completed school, Wakapau Primary, now stands as a model while a new dormitory for Wakapau. There's no new dormitory for Wakapau. It is a rehabilitated dormitory. Still to be completed, but the Redo is reporting. Aurora Secondary, that dormitory facility was supposed to be completed in July. This is November. Still not completed. But the question is asked now, how would the Redo account for 6292 dietary funds? It's either 6292, 6291. I can't recall. This program cannot recall. But whichever is dietary. Since these learners are not in the Wakapau Secondary School dorms and the Aurora Secondary School dorms, how would the Redo, like how they said about rental of buildings, how many $1 million, and when this program asked the question, everybody went quiet. We are going to repeat and we are going to ask that question and bring into you the date and where it was stated. How they rented building as reported and can account for the money. So this here needs to be brought to them. There's no annual report by any regional education officer at award ceremony. In an annual report, is completed and concluded in December, if there is any. But this REDO is bringing an annual report in October. If this is not shameful, something else is happening in this region as it relates to education here. Now, there were 3 retirees from the Pomeroon that were invited to be awarded. None of them turned up. And one would have been a head teacher that would have been discriminated against by this same REDO. Because when this head teacher was appointed to a school in the Pomeroon and had to collect her letter at the Department of Education, she was going back and forth, the REDO not wanting to give her the letter. The GTU, well, she was disrespectful in the first case to the head teacher. And then the GTU intervened, and the REDO was also disrespectful to the representative of the GTU. But you are now shameless, and you invited the head teacher to be awarded while you discriminated against the head teacher. And the head teacher had every right not to turn up to the award ceremony. The report spoke about the upgrade of 83 schools having benefited from TARMAC. That is not true. That is far from the truth. No 83 schools benefit from TARMACs. It is far less than 30. But you talk about upgrade, and when you go to some of these that spoke about of tarmacs. Yes, we are talking about upgrades of these 83 schools. They're far less than that. But when you go to these nursery schools and you see what they call tarmac, let me talk about child development a little so that it's REDO. Let me talk about child development so that it's REDO and the officers can understand. You have destroyed the immediate environment in which would cause learning to take place, especially at the nursery school. Taking away from these children the natural environment to cause them to develop their finest muscles and to be able to use the natural environment to discover things that are natural there. When you concrete and you put drains that these children can fall in, and if they think this program is not bringing the truth, we can bring you pictures and show you. We can name all the schools. But we don't want to further shame the REDO who is wasting time. But when you make these reports, you are not factual, REDO. You are doing work to suit your bosses. And you move away from being a professional. Any politically appointed. The politically appointed, so you have to deal with that deal. CPC, we made mention of CPC, and I think the REDO would have wasted our time to talk about CPC because there's serious overstaffing. Serious overstaffing in the schools. So let us give an example of the serious overstaffing. At secondary schools in this region, the entitlement, the establishment for the secondary schools is as a total 416 teachers entitlement or the inventory. You know how many, and this head teacher, this REDO continues. The REDO and the head teachers of these schools and the Teaching Service Commission and School Board, they should all be surcharged, especially the Redo of this region. They had teachers in which these schools are overstaffed, and the representative of the Teaching Service Commission in Region 2 should be surcharged because there is an entitlement of 416 teachers for the secondary school. Okay.